Let's see if this works. Okay, tell me your name.
My name is Parth.
Parth? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm Hayden. Nice to meet you. I can shake your hand. Okay, so tell me what you think about the banner about atheism.
The banner? I mean, I believe like the world started without founder. Like in the starting of the earth, there was no creator.
Sure.
It was, well, let me ask you, what religion are you from?
I'm a Latter-day Saint Mormon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not here to talk about Mormonism necessarily. If you're
a religion in specific?
If you're an atheist, I would like to try to convince you of theism, which just says that there is an intelligent mind that created us, essentially. Would you be okay if we talked about that for a second?
Sure.
So I can give you my argument. It's two-part. I think atheism is unreasonable, and I think it's stupid. What I mean by that is it lacks common sense and its implications.
Okay.
So let me give you the unreasonable part first. Have you ever heard of it's called the teleological argument from fine-tuning? Have you ever heard of that before?
I have not.
It's teleology is the study of purpose. So it's the idea that this world, as confirmed by science, is what we call so finely tuned to permit life that the odds of it being finely tuned are astronomically low. Like so low you can't even consider the number. So the alternative to we're just here by random chance of essentially the dials lining up perfectly is that we're here by a designer.
But wouldn't that evolution lead towards that? Because eventually...
Well, no, this precedes evolution. So what I mean by that is there are physical constants. Can I show you this little paper here?
Sure.
So this is what even atheist scientists would agree. It's going to blow away if we let it go. These are what we call the physical constants. The most famous one is gravitation, right? So these values are exactly what they are, and essentially scientists are telling us if these are any different at all, then our universe would not be life permitting. And so these are finely tuned numbers. The question is, did they just happen by chance, or were they finely tuned by a designer, right? So evolution comes after this. These are prerequisites to evolution, essentially. Okay. So let me put this into perspective for you. I have two simple analogies to show you to why I think it's more reasonable to believe that an intelligent mind tuned the dials rather than random chance. Let's say each one of these dials has 10 billion options. That's 10 to the 10th power. If I put a blindfold on and I came to you and I started turning even the first dial, if I randomly turned the first dial and I happened to get 1 in 10 billion, would you say it's more likely that I got lucky or more likely that I cheated in some way?
Well, I don't think you can say that because first of all, these constants that you showed me, these are only applicable to Earth specifically.
No, this is the universe.
Yeah, but gravity for other planets is different. The universe is different.
It applies differently, but the constant of gravity is the same everywhere. Like gravity is applied differently on the moon, but the constant is the same. That's the idea, that these are universe-wide. It's not the idea that these are finely tuned for Earth. These are finely tuned for the universe. That's the argument, and even atheists would agree.
I mean, I agree with the constants. I've learned these before.
Yeah.
Like a lot of
atheists would say this is the strongest argument for theism, and essentially they don't have a good argument for it.
This doesn't lead to a God existing. It just leads to there's something we can't explain really, which you may call God.
I think looking at the evidence, we have to ask ourselves, would you say it's more reasonable to believe that it was by chance? Because you're saying there's no intelligent mind.
I'm saying that we can't explain why these are constant yet. But I'm not saying that God is the reason for that.
It's either God or it's chance.
I don't think it's just two options, because that's also
then what's another option for it?
Well, I can't explain it yet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there is no other option.
But, the concept of God, that was created kind of recently in terms of the creation of Earth, right?
Oh, I'm not arguing for a particular religion. I would love to, but you'd have to grant theism before I do that, right? Because Christianity doesn't make any sense if you're an atheist, right? If you want to have that conversation, I'd be more than willing to have that conversation as well. But I think let me finish this and just kind of get your thoughts on it, and I feel free to rebut me in any way.
All right.
Unless you have a third option, is it more likely that I got this by chance, or that I knew what the dial was and I planned it out beforehand and I cheated? What's more likely if you had to bet on it?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on it till I have enough information to begin with.
Well, this is the information that we have, is that they are finely tuned. So unless you want to say it's by chance, what's the other options?
Well, I don't know specifically about this, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I've looked at this for an argument against atheism.
Yeah.
I was talking more about in terms of evolution, right?
I'm okay with evolution.
You're okay with evolution?
Sure. Yeah, I can fit.
How humans all came from a single organism at one point that was produced by steams in the water.
Sure, that could work. I think God can work with that.
So then, would you also agree that God would be applicable to like all the species that ever exist? Because humans haven't been around forever, right?
He would be applicable? What do you mean by that?
Like, God, every species should have their own God then, creator, right?
Not necessarily. No, why can't the human God create animals?
No, he can, but then why do animals not look up to God and only humans do?
Because they're not intelligent enough, and they're not, as far as my theology goes, they're not children of God, is what I would say. They don't have the capability to be able to do that.
So humans are children of God,
yes.
While other animals aren't.
They're creations of God, but not children.
But we evolved from things that aren't children of God. But we are children of God.
Sure, I think there could. Again, you're arguing theology, and I'm willing to do that with you. But you got to grant. Are you granting theism for me for a second?
Let's assume I am.
Okay, right. I would say, and lots of people take this position. This is not a minority position, that it's possible that in ways we don't understand, God can use evolution to help create humans. And the easiest way, I think, to say that is to say that there was at a time some sort of being that resembled a human. I don't know if you want to call it like.
Well, at one point there was no beings on Earth.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so that's another conversation we can have about consciousness. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I don't have a problem saying that we evolved from whatever, and that God at one point gave a human spirit, if you will, into an animal. I don't have a problem with that. If you're granting theism,
okay,
right? If you're granting theism, there's so many solves for this issue.
So right now, I'm only going to take into account like the monotheistic three Abrahamic faiths.
Okay. I don't apply to monotheism.
Isn't Mormonism like part of Christianity, which is?
We're henotheists. We don't believe. We believe.
Are you Abrahamic though?
We're Abrahamic, but we would say that those who think Abrahamic religion, the God of Abraham is a monotheistic world, is just wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, we're henotheists, meaning we believe multiple divine beings exist, but we worship one.
But most Abrahamic faiths believe in the same God, just different disciples telling you about that God. Is that right?
I'm not sure I believe that, because most Abrahamic religions believe in a God that they derive from what we call perfect being theology, which essentially is a God that came out of the early 3rd and 4th centuries. That was a new spin. It's called Neoplatonism. It's the God of Aristotle and of Plato that basically started and said God is the greatest of all beings, right? He's the most knowledgeable. There can't be anything more knowledgeable, more powerful. And they take that and then they apply that to their religions, and I think that's wrong. They don't start with I would say scripture as far as the Bible goes. They take this worldview of Neoplatonism and then they try to push that on to their religion. I think it's just wrong. I think that applies to Jews and Islam and mainstream Christianity.
Okay, but like my point was kind of different than that.
Okay.
The Earth has been around for 3.3 billion years around, right?
I think 13.8 is or is that the universe age?
I think that's the universe.
Okay,
specifically, I think.
I'd be okay with that.
All right. So out of that, the first major religion that still exists right now, probably the earliest, is either Hinduism or Judaism. Okay. Which was around 5,000 years ago. Okay. So in the majority of Earth's time, 99.999%, there was no God that still exists right now that we preached about.
Are you granting theism though on this? Because remember, I'm not arguing for a particular religion. If are you using this as an argument for atheism?
I'm using this for an argument that like no specific religion has been able to survive that long for a specific reason, right?
Okay, that's
or hasn't been around for that.
Yeah, but
long.
That doesn't invalidate the religions necessarily, right?
Okay, then why is there multiple religions in the past that aren't anymore?
Sure, I think people can be deceived, or people can have wrong ideas about God.
So you believe they could have been deceived in the past, but they can't be right now about the gods we have today?
They can be today as well. Sure, why not? We're all fallible.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that not a reasonable view?
So, I mean, it's a reasonable view. I agree. But that just means that no one's certain about any religion to exist either. Same with like not being certain about religion not existing or God not existing.
Sure, yeah, I would say
an equal amount of chance, in my opinion.
It's not equal because of this fine-tuning argument. I think. I think we have to look at the evidences that we have, and to be fair, I do think two reasonable minds can look at the same evidence and come to different conclusions. That happens all the time, right? But to say that because people can't be sure that we should abstain from picking one. I mean, I don't think you live your life that way, right? If you can't, like, did you apply to multiple universities?
Yes.
Did you eventually choose one? Why did you choose one? Because you came to the conclusion that was the best for you, right?
Yeah.
That's the same thing with religion, right? We look at the evidences, we look at reality, and then we choose. Like, you live your life according to what you think is true, right?
You can say so, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we all do. And I just think that theism takes the cake as far as the fine-tuning argument. Because I think it's more likely. Because look at this number, 10 to the 200th power. You know how many atoms there are in the observable universe? 10 to the 80th. So the odds of life existing or being permitted in our universe it's kind of like this. If I showed you all the atoms in the known universe, there's only one that you could pick, and if you want to say it's randomly based on atheism, there's one that you could pick, and then you'd have to do it again.
Wait, so this number is the chance of everything, like fine-tuning randomly happening, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
If there is 10 to the 80th billion atoms, wouldn't there mean that like there is an actual chance for this happening?
There is a chance.
Once or twice across the universe?
No,
like the Earth could be an example of that.
No, because
the universe is so big.
Okay, that's a great question. Remember, this is not like each galaxy has its own fine-tuning. This is universe-wide. This applies to all galaxies within.
Can we prove that right now?
Yeah, science says it. I'm not a scientist, but you could do some research on it.
Okay.
Yeah, atheist scientists would agree with this. That's why I think this is such a great argument for theism, because we're finding common ground. Because you would agree that science is reliable, right? To disprove or however you want to say, to observe the universe.
So it does change over time, even.
Sure, yeah, we can learn. And if this becomes disproven, then this won't be an argument anymore. But I don't see that happening because the physical constants are constant. That's what makes them. So that's what makes this argument. Because some people would posit the multiverse. They'd say, well, if we have unlimited chances, or if there's unlimited realities, then eventually we're going to get one that lines up to this. And my question to them is, well, as an empiricist, as an atheist, is there any empirical evidence for a multiverse? And the answer is always, well, no.
Well, it's a theory, so you can't prove it yet.
Sure, it's a theory, but now you sound like a theologian. You sound like filling the gaps. It's God of the science, right? Or science of the gaps, rather.
But you can argue that religion is also just filling in the gaps for things.
I think most religions are.
They are. So
yeah, but remember, I'm not arguing for a particular religion. I'm arguing for theism.
I'm saying religion in general, like not a specific one. They're all trying to fill in gaps that we can't explain ourselves. And so is the theology or the theory thing you were talking about.
Multiverse?
No, like, what did you say? I was like a theologist?
Oh, theologian. Yes, a theologian is basically someone who like tries to find solves within their religion, right? Or they learn about the religion, or they teach about the religion, right? Theology is the study of God or the divine.
So which specific
So I'm holding these so they don't blow away in the wind.
Which specific atheist scientists? Like, stuff?
Yeah. Can I show you this?
Yeah.
I have these quotes here. You're gonna love these.
More than the name, I want to know like the time period and the place they were from, because
you'd have to look it up. Oh, sorry. These are all within the last 100 years.
Okay.
Most of them are more recent than this. This is the only non-atheist quote I have. He is a former atheist. This is why am I speaking on Fred Hoyle. This, as far as I understand, he was an atheist, but as he became more familiar with this argument, he became a theist.
So these people continue to stay an atheist after finding this information?
Yes, and you know what their argument is against fine-tuning? They say we don't have an answer yet, but we trust that eventually we will. Okay. So it's essentially we have no good argument.
That's practically what I said in the start.
Yes, but now you just sound like somebody when you ask a theologian, like, why do you believe in God? And they're like, well, we can't explain everything, but we're going to figure it out. Like I'm saying, looking at the evidence, how can you say it's more likely that we have a life-permitting universe by chance compared to design? That's the argument. Let me give you one more analogy that may help explain this. If you left home this morning and you did your laundry and you put your wet laundry into the dryer, when you got home, if you opened up your dryer and all of your wet clothes that you left there were in there, they were dry, but they were nicely folded and on top of each other. Has that ever happened to you before?
No.
Never happened to me, right?
But there is a chance.
There is a chance, but what are the odds that it's by chance versus somebody in your household playing a trick on you? What's the more likely, if you, as an atheist?
More likely, because the chance is really small, of course.
Sure. So
there still is a chance that it was folded on accident by chance.
Okay, but remember the standard. We're not talking about certainty. We're talking about what's more reasonable to believe. Is it more reasonable that your mom went, or whoever you live with, went and folded it for you, or is it more likely that your laundry randomly?
But that argument doesn't apply because assuming that this, you would say that God was the one to fold my laundry for me, but I've never seen God. I have seen my mom, and I know she would do it for me. That's why I can easily assume that she would fold the laundry for me. Okay,
but being able to see God is not a necessary, what's the word I'm looking for, like criteria for God existing, right? Do you have to see something to believe in it? Have you ever seen Pluto with your own eye? Do you believe Pluto exists?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you can look at it with your physical eye as far as empiricism.
I can assume that it's my mother folding the laundry because of previous experiences. Well, she has done it before, rather than God, who's never folded my laundry before.
Okay, but what if you?
So in that case, I would say the only chance of it being folded is by random chance, rather than an external force that can't be explained folding it for me.
Okay, but if you lived in your house, it would be more likely. Actually, I would argue that even if you lived alone, it would be more likely that someone broke in your house and did it for you than it happening by random chance. I think that's more likely, right? 10 to the 200th power? don't even know, there's a name for that number, but it's so big you can't even comprehend it. You're saying that 1 in this number is more reasonable to believe than somebody went and changed the dials or folded the laundry. That's the argument. And I mean, look at these. I love this quote from Alex O'Connor. You know Alex O'Connor?
I love Alex.
He's awesome. Yeah. Chris Williamson's asked him this question on his podcast, and he said, "What do you do with a fine-tuning argument, Alex?" Mm-hmm. And Alex said, "Where you have these scientific arguments for the existence of God, I guess I just have more of a trust that they will one day be explained in a way that won't be recourse to divine author." Mm-hmm. Here's Christopher Hitchens. He's one of the four horsemen. He says, "I think every one of us picks the fine-tuning argument as the most intriguing. It is not trivial argument. We atheists all say that." I mean, I can just show you again and again. These were the atheists say we don't have an answer. But my rebuttal to that is, well, looking at the evidence, what is more reasonable to believe? Here's the issue. They are presupposing atheism, and they're not going to budge, so they can't accept it. So they have to say, well, we don't have an argument. That's essentially what it is.
I've actually heard a lot of the podcasts from Alex O'Connor.
Yeah, and he's very smart. I've had conversations with him.
Yeah, but he claims that he is open to changing his mind about it if he finds enough evidence for it, right?
But Alex O'Connor's issue, along with Richard Dawkins and many other atheists, is that, and it seems like yourself, in a way, maybe I'm wrong, is that, have you ever read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins? His main argument when he starts that book, it's basically, the book is to show how stupid religion is. He basically attacks religion, but I'm like, you're not even engaging with the arguments itself. Fine tuning, he doesn't have an argument for it, and no atheist ever that I know of, no credible atheist has ever used his argument. He says Darwinism solves the fine tuning argument, but he doesn't understand the fine tuning argument. Kind of like you said, evolution, but this precedes evolution. This needs evolution.
Evolution is kind of an example, though, because that evolution only starts after the Earth's already been found and after that first micro organism exists, right?
Okay, well, let's ask this question: Do you believe there's always been something, or do you believe something came from nothing?
Well, okay, I know where you're leading with this argument. Like, who created Big Bang? Who then who created the God? How did God come to exist?
The idea is that, like, for example, would you agree that matter is eternal? Like, matter can't be created nor destroyed?
According to our current science, yes.
Okay, so why can't there be a being, maybe that's a conscious being that's made of matter? Yeah, let's talk about consciousness for a second.
Why can't there be the Big Bang and the universe already existing? Because it's matter still.
That's my position. I believe reality exists outside of God.
Okay.
That's why Mormonism kind of solves that issue, right? Because mainstream Christians would say that God created all space, time, and matter. I disagree with that. By the way, as far as I understand, the Big Bang doesn't explain what happened. It just explains that
it's a moment in time.
Yeah, it's a moment in time we started expanding. It doesn't say what caused it, right?
Yes. But we haven't been able to explain that yet.
Yeah, and that's fair, and we won't ever be able to, because how do you observe that? It's like, you can't. Let's talk about consciousness for a second. Do you believe that you're actually conscious?
Yes.
In order to be a true, consistent atheist, you'd have to say that consciousness is an illusion.
Free will is an illusion, according to atheists.
Free will and consciousness, though.
And consciousness?
Yeah, here's Daniel Dennett. Here's one of the four horsemen. He says, consciousness is an illusion. It's a very compelling one. Essentially, the argument is, if I ask you, see this thing here, or this table, can this create something that's conscious?
No.
Has there always been something that's conscious in the universe? Was the Big Bang conscious?
I mean,
was there something conscious in the beginning?
I mean, I have no idea, personally.
Well, unless you want to call it God. Atheists would typically say, no, consciousness has never existed. And the argument is consciousness cannot come from non-consciousness. I would agree with you. You said this can't bring forth consciousness. So that's why Daniel Dennett says consciousness is an illusion, because consciousness can't come from consciousness.
So the predecessors to human evolution, before humans, do you think they were conscious?
Yes. As
why
a
didn't
theist.
They believe in our religion?
Because they weren't children of God, and they weren't intelligent enough.
But they weren't children of God, but they led to us, who are children of God.
Sure.
They were conscious, so they could still fathom the universe, I guess.
But the question is, pre-Earth, where do you believe conscious beings came from? Do you believe that, where do you believe animals came from?
The single-cell organism.
Okay, and was that conscious?
To a certain degree, yes.
It was conscious. How are you defining conscious?
It can think for itself.
Okay, and where did that...
actually, the organism itself was not, no, because it didn't have a brain.
Okay, so you would agree that there was a time where there was no consciousness. You actually being consistent, that's why you'd have to say consciousness is an illusion, because consciousness cannot come from non-consciousness. That's what Daniel Dennett's saying here. And I have more quotes for this, right? That's my banner about atheism being stupid. This is one of the things that are stupid. I think it is self-evident that we are conscious. Here is Paul Bloom. This is Lauren Krause. These are all atheists. Galen Strawson. You have Colin again. Here's Alex O'Connor again. Consciousness is a huge mystery. I've spoken a lot about it. Has a lot of trouble for materialism. It causes a lot of problems because he would agree with them. It's like, where did consciousness come from?
Yeah, I can't explain that personally.
So that's another argument for God. Yeah. God is the eternal conscious being. As a Mormon, I believe that we have all been conscious to some extent since, well, forever.
But you believe at one point on Earth there was no consciousness before humans existed.
I'm a panpsychist, so I believe that all things are conscious to some degree. Yeah,
including that single cell organism.
Yes.
You think it was conscious? So it could make its own decisions, and it wasn't just designed to copy itself again and again without a brain.
I would say that it had some level of choice and awareness, but very low.
So you think consciousness expanded over time through evolution? Until humans?
Like I said, I believe that the universe is eternal and that matter is eternal. I believe that consciousness in some degree is in all matter. I'm not going to say like what level of matter, but I would say as far as Mormon theology goes, that we believe that those who were able to have the capacity, like there's different capacities of consciousness is essentially, and those who have the level to become conscious or to reach their full potential became humans. That's Mormon theology, though.
So I'm going to pose you another argument. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Neanderthals.
Okay.
They were known to have bigger brains than humans.
Sure.
They were known to be conscious. They had civilization almost.
Okay, but are you acting in an atheistic worldview? Because if you are, you can't say they were conscious. Like truly conscious, anyway.
I can't say I'm fully conscious either. Then, if you're talking in atheist,
that's what I'm saying. That's why it's absurd.
Yeah, but I'm going back to the point where they couldn't think of a god either. Neanderthals, who were very similar to humans, they were cousin species.
Sure, I don't have a problem saying they couldn't.
They couldn't, but they didn't. There's no evidence of them having it.
Sure, why would they need to?
Because they can't explain things in Earth either, just like humans couldn't.
That's not an argument against God. Why is that an argument against God?
It's an argument that humans are the only ones that have invented God out of any species to ever exist, regardless of...
Okay, but now you're just kind of poisoning the well by saying invented God? Like you're using the atheistic argument. I'm saying that, at least theologically, that can be solved very easily. Once you accept theism, it's solved. That would be my counter argument. It was a good try. I mean, I've never heard that before, but...
I just came up with it. Right?
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's smart. The other, I don't know if you're interested in talking about them, so the absurdities or stupidity or lacking common sense in atheism, I think, is found in the lack of consciousness argument, the lack of free will that you mentioned. Would you say you're not truly free?
I don't think anyone is.
Okay, yeah. As an atheist, I would agree. Totally agree. Consistent. Now, the other two issues that you run into, and actually with free will, there stems off some other issues, like can you reason if you have no free will? Like, do you actually reason? Like you're not reasoning, right? You run into issues with consent. Like, can somebody truly consent if they have no free will? There's issues there. The other issue is morality. Like, is there true right and wrong? You'd probably say no.
I would say morality is based, like current morality in the United States is based off the religion that was originally like.
There's no inherent, no. Right. So
but everyone has their own morality still. It doesn't mean like everything is all right to do. Like I still believe in morality, a lot of it from the Bible, you could say.
Okay, but you couldn't justify it by saying it's actually right or wrong. Like for example, you'd say that Hitler and Mother Teresa, like their actions were not any more or less moral than each other.
I don't know much about Mother Teresa.
She was like a Catholic saint. Like she had like orphanages and like saving children.
I think Hitler, what he thought he was doing to himself was right in his moral capacity for himself. But I couldn't say that he was morally right or wrong. Right. Because that's, I mean, it's not for me to decide.
Agreed. But that's what atheism leads you to. So I think that's absurd because then how do we have societies, right? A lot of people say, well, the government gets to decide what's right and wrong. It's like, okay, but what about Hitler? He was the government. And then the last issue I think that brings out the absurdity of atheism is the idea that if you are truly not free, it essentially leads you to no purpose in life. Like purpose requires free will. Like you can have a function in reality, but you're not actually making choices. Therefore, you don't have a purpose. It's called nihilism. You may have heard that. Yes. Yeah. So that's my arguments. Those aren't arguments against atheism. That's just what you have to accept if you do accept atheism in the first place.
I do accept the nihilism thing personally.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like a specific God-given purpose for humans to strive for.
As an atheist, that would be absurd for you to believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just like any other species that ever exists, the main purpose is like grow itself, survive. Survive was the first hierarchy of needs, I think, in psychology.
Sure, yeah.
Surviving was the first thing, so that's like the main purpose.
Like natural selection.
Yes, you could say.
There's a lot of problems with natural selection, though, right? Like natural selection doesn't always lead us to populating our genes, right? Like we do things that cause us to die out.
That's true. Yes.
Right. That causes a lot of problem for like homosexuality. Like, do you think homosexuality is like a genetic like defection as an atheist?
I have no comment on that.
Okay, but do you realize why the issue comes to it, right? Because you're saying all natural selection leads to all of us doing everything we're doing. And when I bring the comment up about sometimes natural selection leads us to do things that are not good, they'll just say, yeah, and that's weeding people out.
I mean, yes, homosexuality means you cannot procreate.
Yeah, so is natural selection trying to get rid of those people? As an atheist, you'd have to say yes.
I mean, I guess so.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can say those people just don't want to procreate at all. It's their personal decision. But then again, it goes back
but you reject free will,
yeah,
so they can't choose. So natural selection is working to weed those people out. It's not a position you probably want to hold, but you will have to as an atheist.
What if I tap out?
Sure. What's your name again?
Parth.
Parth. Nice to meet you. I'm Hayden.
Nice to meet you.